Um,
Morning.
cool. How are we doing?
Fantastic.
Yeah. You're listening to Ammar and
Jalf.
live on our weekly radio show right here on Spice FM.
Each week we'll try and bring some views, news, and one or two clues from the business world.
Asian Business Connections aims to connect, support, and promote the Asian and wider communities.
And we'll be talking shop quite literally, not just corner shops, whether you're looking to start a business, have an existing business, or you just want to talk business. We can help.
We can help. We can. And we do help. But gosh, Jalf, second last day of January. It's been a chaotic and tumultuous year, hasn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you if you go back to our first radio show and you think about what's happening in the world in the space of 30 days, it's absolutely incredible, isn't it?
Oh, without a doubt. Um,
It's totally nuts.
it's just crazy. I mean, even like the news there was talking about this British delegation
Yeah,
to China,
yeah.
and I was really interested in that on a number of fronts. Um, um, on the basis that I was listening to Radio 4 in between Spice FM, obviously, but I was interested in hearing the um, the reporter, the journalist, sort of on Radio 4 in the morning, interrogating someone from the government and their views on this delegation, and and it was she kept on asking the government representative. Actually, I think it was she was asking Liz Kendall, as who it was, because she had come on to talk about this AI plan and whatever else, and you could hear the frustration in the minister's voice, as in it's funny. I suppose if someone's going to keep coming back at you, it's a very interesting sort of position. Anyway, the whole point of what I was saying was apparently the actual trip was only finalized last week after the government had given China approval for this mega embassy. It's the biggest embassy, one of the biggest embassies in the world, and the biggest in Europe that China's building in London. And it's that big that they're scared that they don't know what's going to be underneath it and whether it can,
There
whether they
might be
can.
one of those like they built this new spaceship, haven't they, Ammar?
Sorry?
No, the Chinese have built this spaceship, and within this spaceship, you can have lots of different drones. So it's like a mothership that they've got. So maybe that's going to be below it. But the thing is, Ammar, what I was curious about, obviously, all of these movements toward leaning towards China have come directly from Trump's kind of plans on let's say Greenland or whatever else. But is it a matter of just getting on the phone to the Chinese embassy and saying that, right, Keir Starmer wants to visit China? Because it would have done quite last minute, wasn't it? It was planned like a year ago.
No. It was planned forever.
Was it a long time ago, was it?
No, so the actual plans were put in place quite some time ago. Well, they would have had to, right? Because they've taken not only government, they've taken lots of businesses and various organizations, including Keith Merrin from here, they've taken museums and things like that, right? Because it's like, I mean, China has a brilliant economy. It's the powerhouse of the world, right? It is what it is. If you think about the Chinese economy, and regardless of whatever you think or say, over the last sort of 20 years, right? If you look at the last 20 years, China, 500 million, so 500 million, right? nigh on 10 times or 9 times the population of the UK, right, have shifted to the middle class.
Mm.
So disposable incomes, being a bit more affluent, being able to afford more things, like, it's a huge market. If you can penetrate China with your goods and services or products or whatever it is, that's all you ever need to do, right?
Well, Ammar, and the truth, and it's true. If you reverse that, and if we can do business freely with China, and we can buy goods from China, and there's not the tariffs are lower, then there's a massive benefit to our economy here as well, because a lot of the packaging goods, I mean, everything, what doesn't come from China.
Everything comes from China, of course.
So if that relationship is intact and it's solid, I think there's going to be a benefit to all of us.
I think I think it's brilliant that this relationship that we can potentially, as you say, do more frictionless trade with China. And from my perspective, I'd like to see a lot more of it coming up here in the Northeast using our ISS logistics, is what I'd like to do. So he's gone out there, and the suggestion, all of a sudden, our world leader isn't very happy.
And the orange man, I mean, the thing is, the orange man's not capable of.
Sorry, you can't say that. That's outrageous. That's quite offensive. I don't think he's the orange man.
It's endearing, man.
Brilliant.
I mean,
are you singing?
I like
that.
Singing.
Are you singing?
No, it wasn't me. I don't know if that was Donald somehow kind of playing that power trip over all of us, and he's got a control of our show as well as everything else. I think Ammar, he's not in a position though, is he? I mean, there's lots of threats that if Canada did a similar kind of thing, didn't they? So the Canadian Prime Minister, he went over to China, and Trump turned around and said that if you do business with them, I'm going to put 100% tariffs on all Canadian goods. And Canada soon kind of had to wriggle out of anything that they were doing with the Chinese of any type of significance. So, but then I don't think he can have that kind of control over Britain, or can he? I don't know. Surely he cannot.
I think the challenge we have, Jalf, is we simply don't know. And if you're asking that question, then the likelihood is he can. As in, it's like, at the end of the day, the most significant, and regardless of whatever your view is, the most significant country in the world is America. Right?
In what way do you say that? In terms of
it's positioned itself as in, look, everything that's traded is done in American dollars, the petrodollar and everything else, right? Foreign exchanges, all of them. One of the key core reasons, allegedly, that Venezuela, was invaded and the president abducted, allegedly.
The abduction isn't alleged, but other thing
is I don't know. I mean, he was arrested. That's not abduction, is it? So some people might argue he was justly brought to.
The president has diplomatic immunity, doesn't he? He's the president of his country.
He does, yeah. It's sovereign country.
It's against all international laws, which doesn't really exist anywhere.
Yeah. So the point around this is, if you look at why was and did Iran, get bombed in the way that it did? Why did Venezuela? Why is all of these things happening? It's primarily because it risks and the risk of doing business outside of the dollar without, sort of things being traded, like even gold and everything else. I mean, even gold itself, right, is primarily traded in dollars. It's like all of the commodities in the world tend to be traded primarily in dollars. So that's one of the reasons I say that. The second is quite simply, it is the most powerful country in the world, allegedly, and that is alleged because I imagine there'll be certain countries like China that would give it a run for its money.
Yeah. Well, I think, well, when you're talking about power, if you're talking about, I mean, then you have to go into this, you have to go into weapons and what they have in terms of weaponry. And I think Russia is the biggest power when it comes to weapons, followed by America, and then by maybe China. And the thing is, when you talk about that level of power, any one of those countries have the power to wipe out the world. So there's a power. It's such power that if they start to use that power, then they can, as a one nation, they can probably destroy the entire world. So I guess so. Yes, America is a superpower, but there are others that can compete with them on certain things. That's why they can't go and do certain things to certain countries. They have to be very careful because they're equally, if it gets fruity, I'm sure they can challenge them. But obviously they use all the other means of suppressing so many countries with trade, tariffs, and A, B, C, and D. I mean, the whole of the Caribbean, I mean, they have like such control over so many significant parts of the world that if you're Venezuela and you want to trade your oil, and you have to go buy a ship, and they'll be in the international waters and they'll stop your ship, so it stops you from doing anything. So I think some of the stuff is the international setup. I just think it's just so wrong. I mean, it should be a free for all. There shouldn't be any tariffs. There shouldn't be your independent nation should be able to trade freely with another independent nation. When you talk about the free world, it's not a free world, is it? It's a perception of it being a free world. It's a very, very highly controlled world that we live in. And the concept of people trying to say that it's free, it's not free. If it was free, then these little countries, whichever countries they are, they should be able to trade as they wish with whoever they wish at the market rate that they want to trade, instead of there being, certain prices in place. The French, they've got like special kind of trade deals with everyone, all of the African former colonies, that you have to trade at a much lower market value for their kind of resources and A, B, C, and D. And that's not how it should be, especially in today's climate. Are they ever going to change it? No, they're not, because obviously it's going to affect the viability of those countries and their economies. So I think everything needs to be rewritten again. And there needs to have a genuine authority that is powerful enough to implement genuine free trade across the world unilaterally. Without that, I think there's always going to be unfairness.
And it's a sad state of affairs that it is unfair, is what it is. So I just, And
Ammar, the market, the business market. I mean, surely if it was all free, then if your goods are genuinely good, then you are going to be able to penetrate those markets instead of having tariffs against that product or giving kind of surpluses or giving funding when they're probably not as good. So I don't think that can ever get solved, and that's the whole issue.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like really, really hard. And then it comes back to my point that I was making earlier on, Jalf. Like January just feels so chaotic, tumultuous. It's like one of the longest months, isn't it? It genuinely has been. Like if you told me it was the 31st of December 2026, I'd go, yeah, it feels like it. You know, as in, if you think about, seriously, think about how much has happened
Yeah.
at global level,
Yeah.
at national level, at local level, and even in your house. But think about like how much has happened. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, unbelievable. Like
Is what it is.
it's not, when we said the year is going to go fast, I think January's probably feels as though it's a bit drawn out, possibly because of everything that you've
It's
just
not
said.
fast. No. But sorry, it's contradictory, right?
Yeah.
There is a real contradiction. Now, sat here thinking about our show on the 2nd of January, it feels like a week or two ago, doesn't it? As in, we were having these type of conversations,
Yeah.
and it's like it just feels like as if time is really peculiar.
Yeah, it is. And Ammar, we started off by hoping and praying that there was going to be a real pursuit towards peace, and
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 kindness
it's
and
been the complete
kindness.
opposite,
Yeah.
hasn't it? The
Like people being kind,
yeah,
people just being nice. It's actually going the other way.
yeah,
I'll tell you what I actually likened this, right? I likened it as if someone has just reopened Pandora's box.
mm,
You know, it really feels like that. Is what it does. It's yeah, it it it's a case of um, from my perspective, it's like everyone is just wanting to just hurt everyone,
mm.
doesn't it? Don't you think? As in, is like the world not just gone? I mean, it's an interesting term. The world has just gone mad.
Well, it's gone pots, man,
The
100%.
world's
It's sad. It is
interesting.
what it is. But I think I mean, I might have had some conversations within our team members and stuff, and just generally beginning of the year kind of conversations. And what we've said is that, look, regardless of what's happening in the world, on the real ground level, when you speak to a member of the public or another member of the public, that general humanity of love and kindness, I can still see it in abundance. It's just, unfortunately, the people right at the top, the way that they're not demonstrating what actually still exists within the day-to-day people. So I think there's still a lot of good there that we need to maybe harness ourselves, if we're in any position to do so, to keep that unity and closeness within people, and encourage people to retain those values of kindness and empathy and love thy neighbor and whatever other traits that are there to keep us all kind of united together and helping each other. So I think that is still there. I can feel it. And what we should try and do is push that as much as we can with everybody that we touch.
Yeah, I agree. It's like the most important thing now is to like sort of bring people along, support one another. We had a great event yesterday, and I think that kindness. Sandeep talked about kindness, didn't he?
Yeah, it was a really good word that he used, just as a reference to what 2026 should be all about. And as we said, it's still there amongst the people, but it doesn't seem to be amongst the leaders, and they're the ones that really should be there as sources of inspiration. But unfortunately, that's just not the case.
Yeah. Anyway, so lots of businesses, lots of people going to China. That I think is a really big deal. And it feels like a very positive thing for international trade relations. It also starts helping de-risk the over-reliance on America, right? As in, it used to be the West. It's now the East,
Mm.
And at some point in the future, when the sun rises the other way around than it currently does, then it's the end of time, isn't it?
Well, there's some references to the sun rising from the east or something like that. But I think, I mean, there's another thing. I wonder how intricate the conversations are with China when you've got Russia in the mix, because their alliance with China is very, 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 very close. And they're doing so much business away from the dollar because they're not using the dollar to trade. It's away. It's out from the dollar. So again, imagine that if Britain will never do it, but imagine if they were sensible enough to build relationships back with Russia and start to get some of that cheap energy through Nord Stream, which still there's two pipes of the Nord Stream. One of them blew up. The other one is perfectly fine. It's in working order, but they're not taking the cheap gas from Russia. So imagine all of our energy prices dropping to what they used to be, and just that general relationship with a powerful country in our doorstep. But again, that could be another relationship. It's going to be a much harder one to build, but that could be another important relationship to work on that would really help and benefit the country.
Yeah, I think so. I think it would be really, really helpful. But as you say, at this moment in time, the way things are, they are just not where they could or should be when it comes to um, Russia and Ukraine. It's interesting though when you talk about them because they have just mentioned the fact that the president had asked for the bombing or the drones to stop a little bit, and they have receded. I'd like to think that the war between Ukraine and Russia can be resolved. I'd like to think that, as in, and it's probably more broader influences and actors involved in it. It is a real shame that we're destroying our world. It's like people's houses, people's places. I mean, imagine, Jalf, living in a war zone.
It's horrible.
Like you'd be, sat there, lying there, doing whatever you're doing, with this constant fear of, is something going to come and kill me today?
Well, there's that, which is horrifying, and there's the fact that imagine your day-to-day life. I mean, can you go to your business? Can you work? Is there like an economy? Is there a bank? Is there a system?
Well, I mean, if you look at I mean, one extreme. If you look at what happened in Gaza, that was just purely leveled. Imagine, like, sort of nothing's left.
And they're like intense and stuff. Yeah, I mean that's gone off topic for now, but I mean, hey, you got to take your hat off to Pep Guardiola. Yesterday, he did a talk in Spain, in Barcelona, and it was talking about Gaza, and he's like saying that. He said that, look, if you think about it, as a parent, when you see little children and like they're growing up, but then they can't find their parents because they're underneath the rubble and stuff. Like, how is that something that we can just not be concerned about, not do something about? And where is humanity gone if we're leaving, accepting that situation? Because I guess you have to admire the empathy in the man, because it's easy to look away from it all, isn't it? But someone with real heart can never look away from that level of injustice, especially when it involves children. So, and he has to be, people at his level, they have to be very brave in today's world to come and say anything, because there's so many consequences of talking the truth and talking about particular subjects, which again, there's like a massive level of subjugation. I can't even say the word. I mean, there's just, you can't even come out and talk and say certain things that should be openly. If you're concerned about humanity, why is there so much censorship when you come out and talk about the truth?
I know. It is a real challenge, is what it is. It's, it's, and actually one of the other things to consider, thank you, is this ability to speak openly, freedom of speech. It's been abducted, hasn't it? It's been like, the freedom of speech now means you need to abuse people, or you need to stop people from talking. So if a white person has something to say, like Mr. Donald Trump or whatever it is, it's like, or a particular view, that becomes the view of everybody. If Reform are saying, whatever they're saying, and there's lots of other political parties, and this isn't a political party broadcast, far from it. If anyone said Labour, Conservative, whatever, Kemi Burdenok, Burdenok. Anyway, whoever the leaders are saying something, and whatever they say, that then translates into whatever. But if someone's saying something against someone or something that is in power, all of a sudden they're cut down, they're shut down, they're stopped. I find that extraordinary, that you cannot, like, even us saying we think it's wrong that people are dying, all of a sudden I'm a anti whatever, or I'm a this, or I'm a that. So people then stop saying things, don't they? Where is the courage and conviction in people to be able to go, that's wrong?
Well, where's the courage and conviction in the leaders that they're so frightened that people may speak honestly that they have to censor them? That means you're doing something really bad. Really, really bad. I mean, what happened to the free world where you should be able to say and do anything? Is that not what the free world is supposed to be about?
Mm-hmm.
But it's not free, is it? Then they shouldn't use those terms. It's a big mess, and I think it doesn't feel like it's 2026, does it? It feels as though that you're going back to another era, another place in time when international laws and the UNs and other institutions were not there. So I think in certain aspects we're going backwards, and we need to really see how we can move forward. But I guess, Ammar, as I was saying, saving grace is still the people and their hearts. They still have love and kindness at the core of it, and hopefully that will always come to the surface.
Yes, hopefully it will. Let me share the presentation and the radio show to see what's going on. Here's a beautiful picture of you, Nitin Chakraborty. What's happened to that? Do you ever listen? Do you ever watch anything like
Indian
that?
movies and stuff?
Yeah.
No, haven't you? Mithun Chakrabarti, I mean, God, man, is he still going? Is he?
Well, the owner, is that not you? Did you not
that's a name I haven't heard for a long time, because you still know about Amitabh Bachchan and stuff. But Mithun Chakrabarti, man, is he still? I wonder how they're doing, and how his family, and where he is and where they are. I've got no idea.
Yeah, I went to Mithun. Mitten, Mitten, I don't know how to spell it. Chakra. Oh, there you go. I did spell it right. What's happened to Mitten Chakraborty? In February 2024, veteran actor and politician. Huh? I didn't realize he moved into politics. Experienced a significant health scare, but has since recovered and returned to work.
How old is he now?
Oh my gosh. So he was born Guranga Chakraborty. Guranga Chakraborty. What a brilliant name. He was born on the 16th of June, 1950.
All right, 76 years old then.
76, is that right?
Mm.
Yeah, so he's not that old.
Yeah.
So he's 76. It's so funny because like I watched Disco Dancer with the kids and the wife. And obviously they didn't really understand it, but they loved it.
Yeah.
And it's like the music and the dancing is just so outrageous. It's brilliant. It is brilliant. And, the fact that it's like, I am a disco dancer. And it was like, in them days, it was really real entertainment because they were just copying what was going on in the West. Now they've taken it like to wherever, haven't they? It's like the movies. And
they've got their own culture and they've got their own approach, haven't they?
An identity. Anyway, it's good for them. So Mithun Chakraborty is here. So what's going on in the weekly news? So India and EU strike landmark trade deals after 2 decades of talk. India and the EU have agreed a landmark free trade deal ending nearly 2 decades of negotiations as both sides look to strengthen economic ties. I mean, India's on a mission as well, right? It's really, really interesting, is what it is. So it's really, I find it interesting to understand what's going on there. The pact will eliminate or phase down tariffs on most EU exports, such as chemicals, machinery, electrical equipment, and aerospace, and will sharply cut India's car tariffs from up to 110% to 10% under a 250,000 vehicle quota. So this was the big news generally this week. So Liz Kendall-Jalf has unveiled AI Future of Work Unit and a pledge to upskill 10 million workers by 2030. The government will set up a cross-department Future of Work Unit to assess how AI will reshape the labour market and coordinate action across departments with input from groups including the CBI and TUC. And she's announced 27 million for a new tech local program to help people, particularly women, move into entry-level tech roles through training and work experience. Kendall said the UK's competitive focus should be rapid AI. So they've actually introduced a training program, Jalf, that they're rolling out, free training, but it's I think it's ChatGPT and Google or OpenAI who are sort of delivering this. And there was a really interesting argument around whether the speed and pace of AI, whether rolling out AI training based on this current training, some of which will be free, some won't be, how quickly it will expire, how quickly it will sort of not be relevant, because the speed of technology now is crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just, but I guess they'll get a general gist of it, and then it's a matter of trying to keep up.
Yeah. I mean, I love AI. As in, I think it's brilliant. I use it every single day. I use it primarily for an eye on every single task, and I don't feel lazy as a consequence. I just feel more productive. I feel more empowered, is what I do. And then headline: gold breaks $5,000. You noticed how that's in dollars? Announced for the first time as investors flee to safety. Jalf.
It's absolutely crazy the way that the price of gold is kind of going up. I guess every single family, well, not every single family, but most families from the Indian subcontinent, they'll be kind of quite happy because they've probably got some gold somewhere.
Everyone's got some
Wedding
gold in
gold
there.
or whatever
It's
gold.
interesting, isn't it? Where do you think that came from, Jeff? Where do you think that sort of, because
Well,
gold clearly wasn't prevalent here then, was it?
no,
Gold must be an Eastern preserve. As in from the mines
I don't
in
think
Africa.
so. It was never. It's not. I don't think gold is about east or west. I think gold was the medium of currency, wasn't it? It was how you traded gold and silver, whether you go back to the Roman Empire or whether you go back to every single empire. I mean, there was during the heights of the British Empire, when we were getting teas from China, we used to send like boats load of gold to China to get the tea because everyone in the empire were learning how to drink teas and stuff. So gold has been there throughout history. I think, and it is deemed as real money because of it's got intrinsic value. If you've got like a ounce of gold or 10 grams of gold, whatever it may be, that has got genuine intrinsic value, as opposed to, if you think about it, the logic of paper money, you just get a piece of paper and write 50 quid on it, and it's worth 50 quid based on what's written on it. But it doesn't have real intrinsic value because you've seen many a time when, let's say that if inflation goes up 1,000%, your money is worthless, whereas gold will always retain its value. So there is that. Historically, gold has always been a medium of exchange, a source of wealth, of real intrinsic value that will always hold its own. So if you had, let's say, 100 years ago, you had 100 grams of gold, and if you could buy a cow with 100 grams of gold, and you've still got the 100 grams of gold today, you'll still be able to buy that cow, more or less, if you do a simple calculation. Whereas if you had whatever currency was there at the time in terms of monies or whatever, you would, how many times has it changed? Has it devalued and ABC anything? So gold has got historical importance, but on top of that, obviously weddings became a thing, didn't it, where you were given that source of value to newlyweds, and that was done via gold because it comes down to the
dowry.
Yeah,
the dowry, dowries. I mean, it's still obligated. In fact, it's like there is something written in the religion which explicitly states you should give X for Y, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it has. Also, gold and silver is mentioned in the Quran as a source of real kind of value of especially mentioned as a source of monies, of real value. So I think it comes from that. So I think culturally, the Indian subcontinent, they have a massive respect towards gold, and it's something that has been there culturally. So I think when you go to Green Street and stuff, in London, I mean, the amount of gold shops.
Where's Green Street?
Like in Southall or something.
Okay.
It's full of gold shops, and they got full of Asian ladies going in there buying gold.
Right.
But when you have a look at the prices at this moment in time, they're absolutely crazy. I mean, I don't know if people are going to be able to go out and buy them as easily as what they were doing in the past, because it's outrageously expensive.
Yeah, but it is obligated, isn't it? I'm sure it's like within Islam, it's obligated. And not just Islam, in the various Asian religions and cultures. I'm sure the dowry is meant to be given in gold, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is.
So that barrier is quite significant. And if you got a wonderful dowry years ago, then you...
Good on you.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant.
But
Well done.
if someone at the time they base the dowry on the valuation at that moment, so look, I'm going to give you like that valuation in cash. Well, you've lost out, because if it's not stored there, cash hasn't gone up in value. It would have reduced in value because everything around it is gone. Inflation would put the prices around you up, and your real value of your money is always going to go down. Does that make sense? Let's say you got 50 grand cash.
It does. It does.
Next year, that 50 grand cash is worth less than 50,000 because there's always going to be inflation. Whereas gold is going to, probably the price of it is going to rise higher than inflation. So it's always going to stock up more value.
I agree. I think it's I think it's interesting that these anything commodity wise of high value. Even look at silver. Silver's at 100 and whatever pound.
Silver's gone crazy because silver is used in a lot of I think is it used in a lot of manufacturing and stuff. I don't know if it's to do with
computing, semiconductors, and things like that. Whatever else. I mean, there is that. And then there's more precious elements.
And there's another thing that I was reading on gold. Maybe our listeners may not be privy to. Countries, obviously, there is a lot of planning behind the scenes on a BRICS economy, which is an alternative to the economy of the West. So it's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. That's where the name BRICS comes from. And from its origins, it's expanded to a number of other countries. And there's rumors that they're going to underpin that monetary system with gold. So that's why all of those countries have buying, like, stocking up in tons and tons and tons of gold, because once this is just rumors. Obviously, they haven't came out and made any announcements. But once they come out and say that this is our monetary system and it is underpinned with gold, then the gold prices is going to rocket even further, like to unprecedented numbers. So maybe that's to come at some point. And if they do that, imagine the shock that the world market will face, and gold might double or quadruple from where it is today.
Oh, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy is what it is. Anyway, good for all of those people with gold. What else is going on? So, business topic of the week: how to make running a small business feel easier. Running a small business feels hard because the work is endless and decisions are constant. It gets easier by reducing noise and using simple structure you can repeat. Decide what matters this week. 3 priorities only. Choose 3. 1 for stability, 1 for momentum, and 1 to reduce friction. Everything else waits. Turn big goals into 1 weekly action. Pick 1 goal and define the single action you'll do this week to move it forward. Protect 2 blocks of uninterrupted time. Schedule 2 60 to 90-minute focus blocks for work that drives progress, not admin. Use a simple decision filter before you say yes. Only say yes if it protects stability, builds momentum, or reduces friction. Standardize the repeatable work. Create a simple checklist for 1 recurring task to cut rework and interruptions. Build a review rhythm so problems do not pile up. Review weekly for 10 minutes and monthly for 30 minutes to stay on track. Reduce isolation with the right people around you. Sense check decisions with a trusted community to reduce stress and move faster. What do you think about that, Jalf?
Interesting. It's really, really good, Ammar. It's good advice.
What's even more interesting is this particular blog that slightly contradicts what's going on with the EU. So MPs have warned that the UK-India trade deals promised tariff savings could be undermined if the government cuts export staff. A business trade and committee report says UK exporters could save around £400 million a year in tariffs initially, potentially rising to 3.2 billion annually within a decade. And it's really interesting. Is this point? Anyway, I realise. Sorry, we're being asked. Are we? They couldn't hear us within the studio, which I don't understand why. So let's just have a look at that. And it looks like no, it's all happening here. Now I can. Okay, interesting. Thank you for that, Divya. Very kind of you to be listening to our wonderful show here only on Spice FM. There was I mentioned the AB Curry Club yesterday, and it was at Airview WeArePower event is what it was, and it went really, really well. It's a great thing for us to be able to share and showcase different organizations and entities. So Asian Business Connections was proud to support the launch of the WeArePower North East Hub, delivered in partnership with ISS Airview. The event brought together leaders, allies, and change makers to connect across sectors, share lived experience, and focus on practical action that strengthens inclusive opportunity across the Northeast. The launch reflected the values at the heart of ABC's Inclusion by Default campaign, with a clear emphasis on community-led leadership, local priorities, and measurable impact, with contributions from guest speakers Simone Roche and Ammar Mirza. The conversation centered on turning collective ambition into outcomes that matter. And then we've got another curry club next week, Jalf, at Newcastle Building Society. Looking forward to that. It's sold out. Every single one of our events now are permanently and constantly sold out, which is brilliant.
Amazing amounts. It's just all very, very informative, a great networking opportunity where you get to meet people that you couldn't pay to get a meeting with, and you get that for free. So I think that's the biggest thing that I've found from the curry clubs.
Yeah, and I think for me, it is about bringing all communities together, across every single sector. So we're doing quite a bit with the creative sector as well, Jalf. Independents, films, such like, and working across the whole of the Northeast to connect, support, and promote everyone is what we're trying to do. And including, look, even spending time with on here with Spice FM, recognizing the importance of the radio show and using this channel and these channels to connect with as many people as we can. I'm going to get someone on from the Northeast Combined Authority over the next few weeks, just to share with us what is going on and how it's going on and where it's going on, and share some insight and information on the plans for the region. I think it's really, really important that we do that and use this platform to sort of bring people and connect. You regularly ask about business support. You regularly ask what's happening with transport. You regularly ask, and reasonably and understandably, what is going on. So I feel as if we need to bring the mayor, we need to bring on the directors and get some answers for us all to highlight how much work is going on that we may not be aware of.
Absolutely. We just got to finish off just to talk a little bit about the football. Obviously, there was a big match.
How was it? How was it, Jalf?
PSG. So unfortunately, we weren't able to get into the top 8. But I think we played our hearts out against PSG, got a 1-1 draw. That means that we have to go into one more knockout phase to get into the last 16, whereas the teams in the top 8 are already in the last 16. So the Champions League format is 32 clubs. The first 8 go in. The next 16 play each other in a playoff. And we will be playing against Monaco or Karabakh, which is in Azerbaijan. I would much prefer a trip to Monaco, Ammar. I don't know what your thoughts are. Maybe we can plan a few days.
Well, I think I'd rather go to Azerbaijan.
Well, let's do it, man. Should we do it? Plan it.
Yeah. When is it? Well, it depends, isn't it? Because
it's gonna be actually. Do you know what? It's gonna be.
It's Ramadan.
I think the away leg is going to be first, and I think it's on the week of the 17th
of
Feb, and then the home leg is about a couple of weeks after that, or maybe it's a week after that.
Okay, yeah. So I'm nearly there. In fact, I'm past there. I think is what I am. So I think I'm definitely going to go.
So that's where we are. We get into and then the thing is, once we get into the last 16, we're going to be either playing against Chelsea or it's going to be Barcelona.
Chelsea, sorry, this is for what? Say that again.
If we win our knockout round against Monaco or Karabakh, then the next game in the last 16 of the Champions League is going to be against Chelsea or Barcelona.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And it'll be a dual leg or just
double
one
leg,
game?
2-legged, and the first leg is going to be away because they've got the advantage of finishing in the top 8. The advantage is that the second leg of that is at their home. So imagine if we're playing Barcelona.
So out of the 2 teams, I mean, I didn't even know.
I prefer Chelsea, to be honest.
No, I'm not talking about them 2. I'm talking about the first ones because obviously the
playoffs.
I
mean,
who do we need to beat?
I think the easier team would be Karabakh, but obviously from a team's perspective, the journey is a really long one. But I mean, they're traveling in luxury anyway, man. It's not. I think when you travel in business class, I've not had the privilege that many occasions because
I don't know.
I'm always in cattle class, but you might be able to share what
I don't know. That feels. Anyway, we've come to the end of the show. Is what we have. We've come to the end of the show. You'll be listening to Ammar and
Jalf
live on our weekly radio show. We'll be back next week with all your views, news, and 1 or 2 clues. And as I say, we'll get some guests on to give us a bit of an update on what's going on within the combined authority, the mayor, and such like. But until then, it's a goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
Yeah.